Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's important and timely webinar. My name is Chris Beasley, and I am the CEO of Community Living Ontario. Today, we'll be hearing directly from 4 self-advocates about the effects that COVID-19 and related social restrictions have had on their lives. Joining us are Nico Pupella, Raina Flexhog, Krista Wales, and Yvonne Spicer. Nico, Raina, and Crystal are all members of the Community Living Ontario Council, and Yvonne is a member of the Community Living Ontario Board of Directors. Also joining us is Megan Mitchell, Council Engagement Coordinator at Community Living Ontario. I'm really looking forward to learning from the perspectives of our panelists, Nico, Raina, Crystal, and Yvonne, and I really thank all of you for being with us today. So with that, over to you, Megan.
Thank you, Chris, and welcome again to Nico, Raina, and Crystal and Yvonne. Also, welcome to everyone who's out there watching today. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started, there are a couple of questions that we'd like to ask those who are watching. The first is where you're located. So if you could just take a minute, we'll give you some time. Let us know where you're from. And then I think there's another question coming up. The next question would be, which of the following best describes you? If you could just take a minute and let us know. Okay, and I think we're ready to get started with a couple of the questions that we have for our panelists today. The last couple of months have definitely been trying and difficult for sure with the COVID-19 pandemic. So we appreciate you guys sharing with us today. So the first question that we'd like to ask is, can you tell us what you've been doing to keep busy during the last few months? Nico, did you want to start off for us today?
I certainly would, and hopefully everybody can hear me out there. Hello, everyone. So for myself, I've been keeping myself busy by doing a huge reorganization task of my apartment as I live alone. But I also still managed to get time in to chat with friends, play some games to keep occupied, go for walks out in the community. Just try to keep myself busy as I've been out of work for a while, so I do what I can.
Great, thanks, Nico. Rena, what about you?
I've been keeping busy with a range of activities, from watching videos online, doing arts and crafts, getting some physical activity in, and attending online meetings.
Right, busy. And Yvonne, go ahead. I think you might be muted, Yvonne.
Since I've been out of work, I have been, well, I moved here to London a week before this pandemic started, and it was like supposed to be a new, brand new thing, because just recently last year in October before Christmas, my father passed away, and my mom and I were going to try to start a new beginning, new chapter in our life together, living together in London here. but nothing has actually been going the way we want it. So what I've been doing is I have been, what do you think? I've been unpacking boxes. I have been getting rid of stuff, donating it to other charities who could use it than my mom and I could. So just making the best of it.
So it's been a difficult couple of months for you for sure.
Yes, it has. Well, since like we've been, I have no doctor, literally no medical practitioner I've been going through either walk-in clinics when I need to, helping my mom with stuff, advocating for her on different things, but it's just been a rocky road.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, Yvonne. Crystal, you're off screen joining us just through audio. Did you want to share what you've been doing over the last few months to keep busy?
Sure. I work 2 days a week at Choices and help here at home. And in my spare time, I do puzzles and beads and online
Great.
reading.
Great, thanks, Crystal.
You're welcome.
The next question will move right along. Did you guys, or we'd like to know actually, how things have changed to you due to the rules and restrictions that have been set up from COVID-19. Let's start with relationships. How have your relationships, the relationships you have in your life, changed because of all of the rules and restrictions? Raina, why don't you start?
On a family, in terms of family, I don't really get to see my family except through video chats and phone calls. Most of my friendships that I have are we interact in the same way. I do live with a friend and her family, so I'm not alone, which is beneficial for me.
Mm-hmm. Big time. Yeah. Nico, what about you? How has it affected your relationships?
Oh, it's been, hopefully I'm still here. For me, it's been like a huge struggle. I mean, like my mom's kind enough that she checks in with me every day, and usually brings me like a Timmy's cappuccino. So I get to see her from the picnic table outside my door when she drops it off. My girlfriend I haven't seen for a few months since this whole pandemic craziness started. It's been really difficult, and especially for her because she has a cat that she hasn't been able to see for several weeks that is co-owned by her ex. But it's a huge struggle. I mean, for people that want to see family and friends, I mean, they are trying to make it a little easier for people that are immediate family, but it's still a challenge either way. Unless you're actually living with that family member that you can see regularly, it's a huge struggle.
Yeah, big struggles.
And
For
especially
sure.
with not working, for those that can't work and are relying on funding or whatever, it's tough. Like I've been applying to work for places, I haven't heard anything, and of course these are challenging times. So
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah, Yvonne, what about you? How have your relationships been affected with family
Well,
members, friends?
okay. When it comes to relationships, I would have to say that I haven't been able to see my brother, talk to him on the phone every once in a while. I got my mom here, so I'm helping her out. I talk to friends or people that I know either on video or phone, and it's very challenging when you're used to doing something like being able to, you know, go and visit friends and family in person when you can and when you need to. But now, since this thing started, it makes it tough where you're used to be able to see the person right in front of you and give them hugs and kisses whenever you want. But now, since this started, it's very disheartening. It's very disturbing that I'm unable to do that now. Because I was supposed to go with I was excited to go to like Montreal and Timmins with CACL and the Board of Community Ontario. Now this has changed. It's like the new normal. We have to get used to the new change.
Yeah, that's a good catchphrase. It's the new normal, right? It's not easy, but it's the new normal we're getting used to. And Crystal, you want to share with us how your relationships have changed because of COVID-19?
I miss friends and spending more time with others. It's easy to get annoyed.
Yeah, that's fair. Totally. Difficult stuff. Now, what about employment? How has it affected your employment? If you were employed or if you are employed, has the pandemic affected your employment? Yvonne, did you want to start with this one?
Sure, I have that in my speech here. It says, just before this, I worked at a daycare at a school.
So just answer the question.
What?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I
You're good.
worked at a daycare at a school which is now closed. I am collecting CERB and ODSP, but I don't know for how long. Since this pandemic started, I have been less understanding of the needs of people with a disability. And I have a lot of anxiety, but I cannot continue with everyday life. I do not know when I will be able to get back to work with the school district or get fully moved, completely moved into my home.
Yeah,
I just moved to London at the start of this pandemic.
Yeah, and you sounded like you were a person that was working a lot, relied on your employment for
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. On there with ACL, Community Ontario, advocates advocates to make sure their voices are heard, and I bring the concerns forward to the people who need to know so we can help make improvements to the sector.
Perfect.
But now since that's done, it makes it difficult to do this now where we cannot connect with our MPPs or MPs.
Thanks, Yvonne. Crystal, why don't you go ahead? How has COVID-19 affected your employment? I know at the beginning you had said that you work, you're still working. Has COVID affected your employment at all? And if so, how has it?
It only affects me a little bit. I still work 2 days a week. I used to work 5 days a week.
So your hours have been cut?
Yes.
Okay. Raina, what about you?
Well, I've been dabbling with being self-employment. Some aspects of that have been cut as I'm still figuring out my success keys in some businesses. Other times the hours or the ability to work even as a self-employed person has been challenging because everyone's home and I'm not needed as much. Other than that, like I still am able to get some things in, just not as much and not as often. And just currently I am finishing up an application for a summer job position so that I can gain some money.
Great. Good. Okay, Nico, what about you?
Well, for me, I was working for the township as a crossing guard up until the pandemic happened, and then we've been off on temporary layoff. I've been doing some side work on my own. I do remote computer support for people that need it, as well as doing web design work. That's been rather slow, but I still get the odd call for getting some stuff done. I have a potential client that's getting his coffee shop reopened very soon with limitations, so I'm trying to work with him on what I can do. But I get mostly right now just odd side jobs for computer work remotely. Other than that, just trying to find work and to get me through until I can return hopefully in the fall to the crossing guard.
Till things start reopening and hours start going back up, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm also providing a voice to people that are having struggles with their rights and they're not being heard, and like Yvonne said, advocating for those who are having a hard time having their voices being heard. Even
Yep.
within our own organization with Community Living Durham North, I sit on a rights committee, so reviewing restrictions, issues that come up, and we do our best to work through those and make sure that everybody's being heard and being respected. And that's the bottom line.
Great. Thank you, Nico. And lastly, in this question, what about support services? So services you've received, supports you received, how has that changed or been affected by the restrictions of COVID? Nico, go ahead.
Sorry, I just I have my microphone button handy so I can mic off and
Sorry.
on.
I jumped on you.
That's all right. For me, like I've got I'm part of a supported independent living program still. So we've got staff to check in with me fairly often, either every day or every couple days, see if there's anything I need. They originally told me when the pandemic happened that staff wouldn't be coming in, but I was just informed a few days ago that if I do need it, they will work on the distancing within the apartment. So it's a big change to help, but I'm glad that they're there to provide support. And I even have managers that I check in with to see how things are going, and if they need anything or if I need anything, they're a simple phone or text or email away. So
Good. So
good
the
having
only
those
change
supports
has
in
been
place.
the only change has really been that they used to come in and see you, but
Yeah.
now they haven't been coming in your apartment. They've just been calling or texting.
Yeah.
That's kind of the only change that you've noticed with the SIL support.
Yeah, they've been doing that temporarily right now, but they're trying to see that if people
Yeah.
do need it, they will come in if they have to. So
Great. Great. And you still feel fairly supported then, Nico?
oh yeah, like I'm glad that they provide the daily check-ins or as often as they can. And like even when it comes to like if I need paperwork that has to get done, they'll meet at the door with a clipboard that'll come out extending to me. But they come fully prepared with masks, gloves as a precautionary measure. So
Great.
they're doing what they're being told to by the ministry to make sure they're staying safe and protected.
Great. And Raina, what about you? How have your supports or the services you've received changed in the last couple months?
As I'm fairly independent, my supports are more of just an outing, one-on-one basis. And at the start of the pandemic, they have been pretty much canceled so that those that are in more need of the supports can receive them. Then during that time, I would receive weekly phone calls and check-ins just to see how things are going. Today, one of my support workers stopped by using social distancing methods so that I can fill out some paperwork. My advocacy meetings have been moved to online once we figured out what works. So that helps. I get to see my fellow advocates whenever we schedule a meeting. And it's just easier because in that way I don't feel like I'm not involved in my community as much.
Great. Yvonne?
Well, I would have to say, I don't, since I moved to London, I'm not really, well, I'm somewhat associated with Community Live in London, but as on their advocacy group, but I don't really get any support from them. As I'm fully independent, able to do a lot of things now. I have a toolbox I could open anytime I need it, to where it has different things in there to help me if I run into any kind of difficulty. So if I need something to keep me calm, I open my toolbox and I use like I'm used a TV show on my phone, or if my voice goes, because my voice swells, I learned sign language to speak sometimes, and then because I got my passport funding, but I have access that to get some communication device and or electronic devices just recently, but otherwise I don't really have any support.
Okay, and Crystal, finally, what about yourself? Are you still there, Crystal? Okay, maybe we'll just wait until Crystal comes back on. I also had a quick
I'm
question.
here.
Oh, there she is. Go ahead, Crystal. Did you want to share anything about if your services and supports have been affected by COVID?
Sure. I'm fortunate because I've been able to get support to do some stuff on days I used to work.
Okay, great. Yeah. And I just wanted to ask you guys too, have any of you had the opportunity to share your preferences of your supports with management? So if you have any specific needs or preferences, have you felt you've been able to share that with the agencies that support you or anybody that's supporting you? Anybody? Nico, did you want to go ahead?
Yeah, like they've been very good about like if I need like resources to access other things for support, they're very good about like pointing out any shared contacts. Like our agency's been very good about being a very good voice in support mechanism. So if like we need help with anything, they're easy to reach out to. Like also like I get passport funding, so I have a worker that I normally am one-on-one with doing things, and because of the whole pandemic, can't do that, which is really difficult. But at least I still reach out and I'm still getting support and check-ins, so can't complain.
Good. And Reina, what about you? Have you felt that you've had the opportunity to share your preferences with any managers or people who support you?
Yeah, actually, pretty much from the get-go, any questions or concerns like relate to things even like my companion support hours, I have spoken to my coordinator to get clarification of what I am allowed, like what I can and cannot claim, how it's going to be affected. I've been notified of any other like benefits or even the changes to passports, what I can claim through that. They've been really good at letting me know. So it's easy to connect with them and talk. And I also have like I can connect with them through email. I can connect them through through the phone, like texting if I have to. And there's always someone at the office, even though not as much as normal. There's someone there that I can call if I have to get information, should I need it.
Great. And Yvonne, can you share?
Go ahead.
I was just going to repeat the question. Can you share if you feel you've been able to contact or share what you need with the management or anybody who supports you?
I don't have anyone that supports me. The only one that supports me is my mom here with me. But otherwise, I'm not associated with, but I don't get support from an agency right now.
Okay. And what about you, Crystal? It sounds like you've had a pretty positive experience. You were sharing with us that you felt supported daily. So do you feel like you've been able to share your preferences or express your needs during the last few months? We'll give her a minute maybe to unmute.
Okay, I'm here now.
Go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I had trouble unmuting.
That's okay.
Okay, I have Terry Meyer from Community Living. She's my family support. And I have Stacy, and she's private, and she hates me.
Oh, for goodness sakes. Oh, for gosh.
Oh, we know Stacy. I wouldn't say that.
I'm just
That's
kidding.
right. I only get at her in private, I guess.
And just
But
one more
Terry is
thing
very-
to add, guys. I wanted to ask if any of you have any experience with volunteering and if that has been affected at all over the last couple of months. Does anybody have experience with volunteering you could share about?
Through
Nico, did you have any
Yeah,
experience?
yeah.
Has anything
A
changed?
lot of the volunteer stuff that I have been doing has obviously been suspended. So, as for safety of the volunteers and others, I volunteered a lot with the hospital as an auxiliary member. So they
Has
pulled
that
a lot
changed?
of auxiliaries off.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a safety precaution, but hopefully once things settle down better, then people will be able to return to doing what they were doing.
For sure.
So,
Rena, have you had any changes, any experiences with volunteering or anything that's not employment, but anything out there you were doing in the community?
Most of my volunteering experience these days is usually like through the council, my local advocacy group with my agency, and those have been turned digital. Anything where I have to, or it requires me to leave the house or whatever, those pretty much are non-existent.
Right. Yeah. So they've changed quite a bit.
and even with some of ours, things that I volunteer with, we've switched to, like Raina said, digital. So we've been doing Zoom meetings for our committees. It's a very different thing than being face to face in a room with people.
Isn't it? And like we were saying before, it's our new normal we have to get used to, right?
Exactly.
And Yvonne, can you share, is there anything volunteering or anything in the community that you used to do that you haven't been able to do now, or it's changed drastically because of COVID-19?
Well, since I've moved down here, I have joined up with their New Vision Advocates group, and we have been meeting twice a month on Zoom, and we've been having our meetings twice a month. I'm also attending the Respecting Rights group, and that is every Wednesday on Zoom, but we're going on to using WebEx starting this Wednesday, and it's all advocates that works with Sue Hutton and Arts Disability Law, and we're doing that. And then also, I've been attending many meetings with Community Ontario on the board of directors meetings, council Community Ontario meetings on Zoom. So more like every day I'm on meetings in somewhat, and speaking to people about different things that we need to do differently going forward through this ordeal.
Thanks, Yvonne. Crystal, anything that you can add?
Yeah, I volunteer with the action committee that with the meetings that we have one Monday a month, but we can't do that now because of this code thing.
Yeah.
So now we do Zoom.
A lot of things have changed, a lot of virtual meetings, which makes it very tough, which kind of leads into the next question that we'd like to ask. How has all of this affected you mentally and emotionally? If you don't mind sharing a little bit, Raina, did you want to talk about how this has affected you emotionally, mentally? It can be tough, but whatever you're willing to share.
Well, mental health is a big thing to this because for anyone, the isolation can have a big impact, even when, like, especially when you're alone, but it can still have impact even when you are surrounded people. I know that I struggle a lot with mental health, even though it's fairly positive. Trying to distract myself boosts me emotionally and my mental health. However, I do know that I have gone through the periods that just recently a few days were spent where I had hit a bit of a depression period. I was not able to do as much and not able to get out of the house a lot, so I'm craving different changes of scenery, turning to like the same old distractions and then feeling like I'm in a rut. But overall, there's not like it's not affecting me hugely. It's just that as much as I'm an introvert, I do need those changes. I do need those things to distract myself so that my overthinking doesn't take the better of me.
Oh, for sure. And thank you, Raina, for sharing that. I know you're probably not alone in that situation. I think that this pandemic has been difficult on a lot of people, and mental health has definitely taken a hit. So you're not alone. I think there's a lot of people experiencing it. Nico, what about you? Can you share some similarities, or how has it affected you mentally, emotionally, in any way? Nico, did you want to share? I'm not sure if he's frozen. He might come back. Why don't we go to Yvonne? Did you want to share how this has affected you mentally and emotionally?
Right here, this little young lady here, she helps me keep myself calm. So during this ordeal, if I get stressed and my anxiety level rises, this young lady is the person who helps me keep me calm and protects me, as she is my guardian angel. And she helps me, besides her sister, to help me when I have those bad, rough days where I need someone to talk to. This one's always here for me.
That's awesome. It helps. Pets definitely are very important in this time. They help a lot.
Someone has mental illness, which I have, and it's really needed to have someone here that can be here when I need her the most.
Big time. Yep, big time. Crystal, what about you? What have your experiences been over the last couple months?
Not used to being home so much. So I find myself a little grumpy and the whole thing makes me anxious. So many people sick.
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult time. Like you guys have all shared, the isolation is difficult, right? Not having that human contact, that's very difficult. Just a change in our daily routine, not getting out as much, all the changes, everything has been very trying and difficult. So understand that everybody's going through it in some way. So thank you for sharing. When Nico comes back,
I'm back.
are you Oh, are
I'm
you there,
back
Nico?
now. I apologize. Somehow the network
Okay,
connection dropped out on me. I'm just reconnecting.
that's okay. Did you want to share?
I was like, I heard Raina up to a point, and then all of a sudden it just went frozen. And I was like,
You froze.
so what
That's
question were
okay.
you on? Sorry.
So I was just asking, we were talking about mental health and
Okay.
how COVID-19 and everything that's been going on over the last couple of months with the pandemic has affected you mentally and emotionally. Have you had any experiences you'd like to share?
Yeah, sorry, just give me 1 second here.
That's okay. Take your time.
Yeah, so for me, I mean, like, obviously, like, I get the odd depression because, I mean, like Raina said, you're isolated a lot of the times
Mhm,
and you're not able to, like, engage with people like you normally would. So, I mean, there's times when, like, I get into an emotional breakdown because of the fact that it's, like, not easy not being able to be close to others.
mhm,
So, I mean, a friend of mine that I chat with regularly on Facebook, he's in the same boat. I mean, like, it affects people. Like, a lot of people are facing the same issues of feeling depressed, not being able to do much. I mean, yes, you can go for walks, but then if you're like near other people and then cops are around, it's like, oh, you're not social distancing, and then they start getting nitpicky. So, I mean, like, it's very challenging, and the government needs to understand that like we're human and like we're all dealing with this and it's affecting each one of us differently,
mhm,
but we're all in the same boat. Like they need to be a little more respectful of our needs and feelings.
mhm.
I mean, I get that they have a job to do of protecting others, and I'm not knocking that, but they need to be a little more sympathetic.
Yeah, a lot of the rules and restrictions can cause a lot of anxiety, right? Sometimes
Mhm.
it can be hard to understand why those rules and restrictions have been in place because they're difficult to do every day, right? All the changes in our lives have definitely had an impact on all of us. So I know that they are put into place to keep everyone safe, but it's definitely easy to recognize how hard it is to have these kind of impacts on our everyday
Even
life.
with people like that live in group homes that like are like under a lot more stricter regulations and rules, like they're not allowed to do certain things. Like
Hmm.
they're telling a lot of them to like try and stay out of stores because you don't know where people have been. And when you get like managers that happen to see people that are out for walks and then they see them going to a store, they immediately jump on them and like, oh, well, why aren't you following the rules? And it's like, well, we're out for a walk. If we want to get a drink and we're practicing the social distancing, why are you making it a huge issue? Yes, I get you're trying to protect the people that you work with, and I get that. But at the same token, you can't really stop someone that needs to pick up something. As long as they're being careful and cautious and following the rules as best they can, like there needs to be some leeway to a point.
Hmm. Yeah, it can definitely be difficult. It can, for sure. Um, Moving on, I'd like to know if there's something that any of you have done that you've really enjoyed, or any new hobbies or old hobbies that have improved, anything that has been a positive light in your life in the last couple of months. Raina, did you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I forgot to mention earlier at the beginning, but like the having to stay home and practice social distancing, I have started doing a lot more cooking, a lot more baking.
Right.
This platform called TikTok has shown me different recipes that I've turned into reality. I can make what I call a lazy man's quesadilla that you can basically cheese quesadilla that you can make in the toaster. I've made a what I call a sweet tooth killer because there's about 4 different desserts in this one dessert. Um, so it's kind of inspiring that being crafty more, which is something I've always liked to do. So it definitely like having to stay home has brought that out again. So it kind of helps, but I do miss being able to hang out and do the activities that kept me busy outside the house.
Great. Yeah, definitely a lot more opportunities for trying new things cooking and baking wise, which is fun, right? And Yvonne, do you have anything that you'd like to share that you've done that you've really enjoyed, or hobbies, anything like that you've done the last couple months that's been positive, brought some light to your day? I think you're still on mute there, Yvonne.
I was just thinking when you posed the question, so I was trying to think.
That's okay. Did you want me to give you a couple minutes and we'll come back?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Nico, what about you? It is a question that I just thought
Dana
about
was
asking.
making me hungry when she was saying about those the lazy man's quesadilla with the toaster. I'm like, I've been doing that too. I mean, like the toaster comes in handy for some of that. But yeah, no, I've been like working on some little projects in my place, like aside from reorganizing, trying to just make my place a little. I mean, I've been living in my apartment for 3 years, and I'm looking at making a few changes on how it's laid out to make it more suitable. But I have a few side projects I've been working on to keep myself busy. I love doing some gaming with some friends on the computer and through through my console. So
Nice.
it's nice way. It's also a good stress reliever too. So
Big time.
if you want to like just like forget about the pandemic, just be like jump on the video game and be like ah.
Stress
But
relief, right?
oh, I mean, like, for me especially, because I mean, like you get into that, you do the same stuff all the time, and then it's just like, okay, you need to change it up. But there's only so many things you can do to change it up,
What?
or you're in a creature of habit of doing things, and it's just like, okay, what more can I do? What new things can I do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
But you are finding some things that bring you some joy.
oh yeah. You
Good.
have to. I mean, like you can't always be negative about the whole thing. I mean, yes, it is difficult times, but like I see so many conversations on Facebook where people are saying this and that, and then it's just like, okay, you know what? Like I get that you're frustrated, but let's try and put a positive spin on it. I mean, yes, we're all down in the dumps about this, but come on, people, like pull some jokes and just make people laugh, make them like
Exactly.
not think about it.
Find some joy.
One thing I
Like,
wanted to mention earlier that I didn't get a chance to when I was
yeah, go ahead.
talking a little bit about like relationships and like how things I deal with things is that if I'm engaging with people like how I used to do it in face to face is that I'm partially deaf in my one side, so not many people are aware of that. And then like if they're facing me from the left side, they're always like they're talking at me, and then like it's not that I can't, it's not that I'm not listening, it's just that like I'm partially deaf, so I'm not always realizing that they're talking. So in my years of working in various places, I've had to obviously use my headphones or whatever on the right side. And I always make sure to tell people, look in my line of sight. There are times that I can read lips if it's clear enough, but I always have to remind someone, like, if you're talking to me and you're on my left side, tap me on the shoulder, wave at me, so that way I know you want my attention, because I won't know that you're yapping away at me. And some people have been very good at adapting to that, and it's great. So, wanted to
Thanks,
put that
Nico.
in.
Thanks. Crystal, is there something that you've done to find joy in the last couple of months?
I enjoy the extra support.
Oh, that'd be me.
Any hobbies or anything that you've picked up, or anything you used to love doing that you've just gotten to do more?
My puzzles, and I do melty beads, and they
Oh,
hang
and
on the fridge with magnets on the back.
oh, great. So you've had some
And
time for arts and crafts.
yeah, and my birthday's on Thursday.
Well, great. So you have something to look forward to.
Yep.
Wonderful. Awesome. Well, just looking at the time, I'm gonna ask a question quickly about if you want to share anything about how COVID-19 has impacted you financially. I know that it's probably
I thought you were going back to me.
Oh, right. I'm sorry, Yvonne. I forgot you. Yvonne, did you want to share about
Yeah, I
something
just made a list.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, clean the house. Getting a new bed set because mine is old from 20
Right.
years ago. Relaxing when I can. Assisting my mom getting a new car that she's getting Thursday. Being in meetings and organizing and advocating left, right, and center. Spending more time with my children. Giving back to people who don't have the money.
Great. That's a wonderful list, Yvonne.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Great. To help you find some joy in your days, right?
Well, giving back to people who can't afford it, it makes another person's life a lot more better.
Great. Wonderful. Wonderful. Then moving back to our question about how you guys have been impacted financially. Just keeping an eye on the time, we have about 10 minutes. So we'll just go through it quickly if you guys want to share any experiences financially that you've had the last couple months. Raina, did you want to start?
Sure. I didn't notice a huge difference financially because I still rely quite heavily on ODSP. So it's with that in place, I've been able to have a roof over my head and be able to have food in my belly. But some of the things, there are also some aspects where it has taken a hit because I'm not able to get the money as easy, other sources of income as easily.
Great. Nico, what about yourself?
Well, for myself, being on ODSP is obviously a challenge for a lot of people because a lot of people feel like they don't have the right amount that they're getting for it. Like I'm right now barely making it through because I was approved for the CERB. That was a bit of a toll with me financially because it affected my ODSP, and I had to pay a portion of rent on my own. So it's a challenge. Like trying to make sure that you have a roof over your head is obviously a priority for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so like my trustee has been working hard at helping me make sure that everything is being paid for, like my rents, sending money for me to make sure I got food, making sure that my utilities are covered. So this month itself has been a huge struggle. So hopefully going forward will be a little better. But again, like ODSP and people that are on it, it's like very difficult. And hopefully the government will listen and realize that, like, hey, we need the better funding so we can make sure that we have enough to cover for things.
Yeah, big time. Yvonne, what about yourself?
Well, this is so fun because I'm on the other opposite side of the fence. I'm getting the unemployment or CERB benefit. It's not being clawed back. I get the ODSP. I get all that kind of money, not clawed back. And I'm going to college in September at Banjo.
Great.
And because you go to college, you're exempt for 6 months. So basically, I'm raking in the dough right now, and it helps me be able to pay my bills and so forth by living in this house here with my mom. We only pay $450 a month, so it's a lot better, because when I was living in London, in Milton, it was not the greatest, because even though I was on ODSP and also getting, I've been on a subsidy, still I only getting like maybe roughly $900 or even $500, depending on how much money I made in from working at a daycare in Milton. But so it's a little bit of like, since I moved to London, I'm getting I'm getting all the money that I've been wishing for years. But when I was in Milton, I was not even making enough after I pay all my bills each month.
Definitely hard. Crystal, what about yourself? Is there anything you can share that you feel you've been impacted financially by COVID-19? Has anything changed for you?
I haven't really noticed the difference with ODSP because I still work 2 days a week.
Okay, good. I do have one more question I'm going to ask the panelists, but before I do that, I wanted to let the people who are watching today know that there is a section on your webinar that you can ask a question. If anyone out there has a question that they would like to ask the panelists, please do so, and then we'll do our best to answer after we're finished this last question, which is if each of you could share, if there was one takeaway message that you could share with everybody watching today, what would it be? Nico, did you want to go ahead and start that one?
Certainly, same. So I was the creator of that question to ask. I thought it was a good question because you know what? If there's a message we want to portray to you guys that are watching, like what our takeaway is, that you know what, we want to make sure that your voice is being heard. If you feel like you're not being heard, reach out to anyone that you can that will be supportive and say, hey, like I've got concerns. Please listen and help me get those questions answered. Because you know what, we're in this together. Hashtag in this together.
Thanks, Nico. That's awesome.
You're not alone.
Reina, what about you? What's your one takeaway that you can share with everyone watching?
I would say that it's to reach out to your support circle to see where you can get the best supports for yourself during this pandemic, and as well as reaching out to your friends and your family. And if you need to socialize, to do it in the way that the pandemic allows, so that you can manage your mental health, your physical health, your emotional health, and all that.
Thank you, Reina. Yvonne, did you want to share?
Sure, I got something. Additionally, Community Living Ontario has made a lot of resources available to the community of Ontario through their website to help people across Ontario access the supports and services they need during this pandemic, including me and my mom.
Thanks, Yvonne. Crystal, did you have a takeaway message that you'd like to share with everybody today?
Yes. People can't work, so their families are suffering and can't do things that I want to do. We remember some have things worse than you. Find things to be happy about.
Great. Thanks, Crystal.
And just as a final note, I wanted to add is that if anybody has any questions or concerns, reach out to us council members. We are here to help you. We are here to be a voice for you. Like Yvonne says, she voices for a lot of people, but so do we as council. So we are here for you guys and anyone really. So let us be the voice for you. If you feel like you're not being heard, reach out.
I just additionally, just recently, I had a self-advocate reach out to me and called me on my phone. So if anyone wants to call me, I'm on call any 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to advocate and help you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So we do have a question from someone watching today. And the question is, how have you found the information you're receiving about the coronavirus? And how do you get your questions about the coronavirus answered?
Tomorrow's not Thursday.
Who would like to answer that question? Yvonne, go ahead.
Basically, watching CP24 almost all the time, or watching the news feed on my phone through Facebook, since through 680 News or CBC or CP24 or the City Pulse, or watch the news at 6, 12, and 11. So I've been listening, and when it comes to getting your questions answered, it's very difficult to get someone to, like, especially Doug Ford, like he was the one that he blocked, his Conservative Party blocked it where we couldn't get increase. So I don't know if it's gonna ever, if my questions are gonna get answered, even though we keep asking them all the time. It makes it difficult to get someone to, unless they walk in our shoes
And you can't help
and do what we do every day, and by living in the community with less to our name, it makes it difficult to live within our means.
I'll ask maybe one more of the panelists if they have something they'd like to
Megan,
add. Yeah,
I
Crystal?
have something to say,
Go ahead.
please. Okay, I find it hard I find it hard on the news what people say, because different people say different things and can't always understand what they say.
Fair enough. Yeah.
And just to quickly add to that, I mean, like, there's a lot of news sources that report things, making sure that all that information is clear and understanding, and then making sure that people are all on the same page, because there's so many different versions of information, it's hard to really know what's real and what's not. So always being careful what news sources you're reading to make sure you're getting the accurate information.
Yeah. Raina, is there anything you want to add?
I would say is as far as information to gain it is pay attention to whatever resource and method of your choosing, whether it be the news, Facebook, family and friends, wherever you feel the most comfortable with getting the news and the information. And I would also just say, like, to get clarifications. If you have any questions, refer them to, like, your friends who are very knowledgeable, any family members that you trust, or even your support staff. I am pretty certain that they'd be able to help answer the questions in a way that will help us understand what's going on.
Great. Thanks. I think we might have one more question from people watching out there, and we'll just answer it quickly due to our time. Has anyone been to the hospital or your doctor's office yet? And how do you deal with your hearing loss if you have a mask on? So Yvonne, did you want to go ahead and answer that one? You visited the hospital or your doctor's office?
Well, okay, just when we just moved here, just the beginning, when the thing started, I literally had to take my mom to the hospital, okay? And when this started on March 13th, my mom decided to go down the stairs and fall. And then the ambulance was called by me because I'm first aid trained. And the first aiders, their paramedics said, you could go with your mom to the hospital. I do that, and I get there. They tell me, oh no, you're not allowed to go in. She's hard of hearing, and if she doesn't have her hearing aids in, you're like talking to a brick wall, literally. And then they tell me, no, you have to leave her here and go home. And it's like, excuse me, you have someone who has a disability here who is and has an intellectual disability, and she's hard of hearing, and she's like in her 70s, and she's here. She doesn't know anyone. She needs some support, but they did not get it. They literally, and I literally had to give them the what for on the phone and tell them, she is an intellectual disability. She is hard of hearing. She needs support. And they said, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have time. We have got so many patients ourselves that we can't do whatever. Even though she had nurses like on her all the time. I'm the only one that knows basically is down here in London what she needs, and now she's got her will done. I'm her power of attorney. So basically I have to, be there to support her. But when the staff at the hospital tell you, oh no, you have to drop her and leave, it's like makes me feel awful inside that I'm not allowed to do my work.
Yeah, a frustrating experience.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay, well, just looking at our time, we're just after 3. So I think I'm going to hand it off to Chris. I'm going to say thank you to our panelists, Nico and Crystal, Raina and Yvonne. You guys did awesome today. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. And Chris, I'm going to hand it off to you to close us today.
Thanks, Megan. I mean, you basically said it. I mean, I think our representatives from council and our board here today did an awesome job. So thank you all so very much. And Megan, thanks for being a great moderator. And Yvonne, thanks for the commercial for Community Living Ontario and its Staying Connected section. I can tell you're on the board. I love it. You know what? It just drove home for me that we're all in the same boat. I think Nico said we're in this together, and yet we all have different experiences because we're all different people. And there's good things and there's not so good things that are happening for people. Really important to talk it out and to hear what's going on. So I know I really appreciated it and learned some things, and I hope everybody that was online today also got some value from it. And thank you everyone to being online today. And we will continue the webinar series. It's ongoing, and so stay tuned for more as we put them out. So again, thanks to everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye now.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye now. Thank you all for coming.